anticipating having both California as well as a couple of other places online. And I really appreciate you coming back, okay, after having service today. Thank you for the guests who are here. Okay, this is kind of like a really important seminar that we have. It's so important that I printed off something and forgot it on the copier. So Grace, would you go get it for me? Okay, please. Okay, that I wanted to read. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes because I have an exercise that I want you to do. You have your handouts, those that have the handouts. Your first page, okay, is the vitamin D. It says Vitamin D Health Awareness Seminar. Looks like the invitation that you had. Now, we're having problems with those pens, so you may have to, play with it a little bit. Okay, but what you see is like a sun. I remember when the Lord gave me this vision of how to do this, okay, because I was looking and studying vitamin D about 5 or 6 years ago, and I saw how many diseases and deficiencies that cause diseases were related to being vitamin D deficient. And vitamin D is called what? The sunshine vitamin. So I got this idea of a sun, and what I did was a sun and all the different diseases like sun rays, okay, around it. All right, so here's what I want you to do. It says, who do you know that has health challenges in these areas? If it's not writing, you may have to go ahead. The ink may have dried out on it. Okay, I made the boxes large enough for you to put a name in that box. So, for example, do you know somebody that has a digestive or bowel disorder? Do you know someone that is having problems with their hormonal system or cancer or any cardiovascular, maybe an autoimmune, or somebody who is in depression or stress? Because every single one of these boxes has in common is that they can be a sign or symptom. None of them seem to be working. So vitamin D deficiency. Okay, so put their name in this particular box. And Ebony, I don't know, there are other pens on the shelf. If you go in there, Jenny might be able to point them to you. Okay, all right. So put their name in this box. Yeah, just throw them out. Good grief. Charlie Brown, good grief. Okay, so, and what this will be is your list of people who you need to, contact. Okay, who possibly can be helped by, and I don't know if you can zoom in, okay, on this. I don't have it on the screen yet. And is there a reason why we aren't showing up on the screen?
Can we put our name in there?
You can put your name as many places as possible. Yours and anyone else. Yeah, the laptop is. Okay, here we go. Scene select has been changed. All right. So you're going to put their name in it. Okay. Because something just as simple as vitamin D deficiency. All right, Brad, we are having a problem here. Oh, I'll just keep on going. Okay, I'll keep on going. Okay, thank goodness we have Brad here. He knows what to do all the time. All right, so just reading this, did you know that based on evidence that we now have at hand, there are associations between vitamin D insufficiency and many other diseases, including tuberculosis, psoriasis, multiple sclerosis, inflammatory bowel disease, type 1 diabetes, even type 2 diabetes also, high blood pressure. Do you know anybody with high blood pressure who's on blood pressure medication? Do you know anybody that is a diabetic on diabetes medication? Okay, then their names need to be in here. Okay, increased heart failure, myopathy, breast and other cancers. Are you aware that the root of your health challenge may be as simple as modifying your lifestyle, diet, and vitamin D levels? While Brad is doing that, I'm going to read you a story. Okay, this was in the news, and when I saw this was just really one of the inspirations for having this particular seminar. And the headline is Tragic Death of 6-Month-Old Baby Highlights Need for Policy Overhaul Regarding Vitamin D Supplementation. And there's a picture here, and I'll pass it around. Noah Fahane, who died age 6 months. Here, pass that around. Okay. Can you imagine? All right. And all I could see with this is just imagining this young family. You know, they got married, okay, husband and wife, and, you know, planned on having a family. She gets pregnant. And of course, all the joy of that, the baby shower and everything. She gives birth to a baby. And then 6 months later, the baby dies. The baby was born, okay, and had health challenges. And the baby winds up dying at 6 months. All right. After they do the autopsy, they find out that the baby died of complications due to vitamin D deficiency. Okay, so in reading this, UK vitamin D supplementation policy needs to change to protect the health and lives of babies, pregnant women, and dark-skinned individuals, say University of Birmingham researchers, as today they highlighted the death of a baby and serious ill health of 2 others due to a vitamin D deficiency. The death of 6-month-old Noah Fahane, who died following complications of heart failure caused by severe vitamin D deficiency, was entirely preventable, conclude Dr. Wolfgang Hogler and PhD doctoral researcher Dr. Suma Uday in research published today in BMC Pediatrics. So after looking at that, okay, now this baby is forever immortalized in this pediatric, publication because of a vitamin D deficiency that the doctors after its death said was entirely preventable. So therefore, the baby was only 6 months old. So you can't claim he was inside too much, not working out, you know, or anything like that. A child to have that level of vitamin D deficiency means the mother had to be under extreme vitamin D deficiency during her pregnancy. So you get pregnant, you're going to the doctor for how many months, and they never, ever identified this deficiency. So then the baby is born with extreme health challenges, goes into heart failure. At the autopsy, you decide to test the vitamin D level and find out that it was an extreme vitamin D deficiency. Now, one thing you need to understand, every single cell in your body has a vitamin D receptor. I need you to understand that. So if you are vitamin D deficient, that means something is not going to work because the body will prioritize. Something is not going to work. So continuing this article, Hogler and Uday argue that current UK, and this was in the United Kingdom, recommendations for infants and children are overly complex and outdated. They are calling for updated and simplified guidance to include supplementation of all babies from birth, regardless of whether they are formula or breastfed. Now understand, you're a new mother, you want to do the right thing, you want to breastfeed your baby and everything. But if you don't have the nutrients, what are you giving the baby? You can't give the child what you don't possess yourself. The one thing that I am so happy about is that these doctors are calling on their government to introduce mandatory monitoring of babies and pregnant women to ensure they are taking vitamin D supplements. You see, but at what cost did this come about? I'm going to pass this around. Here's the mother, and I don't know if you can zoom in, okay, on this. The mother and her baby. Got it? Okay. And I'll pass this around. You know, and that really, really disturbed me because vitamin D deficiency is the best kept secret that everybody knows. Okay, that everybody knows. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And as I said, as we are going through this, if you think of a name, write it down. You can save somebody's life and improve the quality of somebody's life just through a simple thing like vitamin D supplementation. So we're going to get started, and you probably pretty much point this towards the, oh, here we go. All right. And so my name, okay, is Charlotte Israel. Okay. I'm the founder of Back to Health, Back to Eden Health and Wellness Centers. That's what our ministry is, basically a health and wellness, okay, ministry. And I was just telling one of the young men, everybody here is in a various art. We have, like, at this table here, there's Miriam, who is a retired RN, and next to her, her buddy and dance partner. Okay, Grace is the best massage therapist. If you need a massage therapist, Grace is the massage. She has hands that must come from angels' wings. Okay. Okay, because she has a healing touch. And that's one thing that is great. She literally has a healing touch, okay, to that. Yeah. You know, and there are people who have come in who, you know, have had problems that give them 5 minutes with Grace, and they're out doing cartwheels up and down, you know, Sheldon Road here. Okay. You know, so, and then we have, you know, people in the musical arts, people in the drawing arts. This ministry just to attract that kind of, those kind of artists. Everyone's an artist, okay, that comes here. But anyway, I don't want to bore you with all of my certifications. Just look at that screen and know you are talking to someone that is highly certifiable. Okay, so just remember that. Okay, as we go through this. Anyway, nothing is more valuable than your health. You need to understand what I'm saying. Okay, we, you know, being a ministry, we come together, a congregation. We come in our walk to serve God, but you can't serve God properly if you don't have proper health. You understand what I'm saying? And because we were never really made to focus on our health, we really weren't made to focus on our health, because we learned that, you know, eventually we'll get that glorified body in our mansion up in the sky and everything. And the one thing that I learned, okay, about that is that, you know what? Our enemies have no problems with dead saints. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so I begin to focus on health, and Kathy is a witness and Pam is a witness. The first health classes here, okay, when we were like the Pillsbury Doughboy, okay, all right, and for as a pastor, I began to say, how am I going to teach people, okay, that God is a healer and I'm not healthy myself? You understand? It has to match. Okay. I had some serious health challenges that I now identify with the vitamin D deficiency. And I'll tell you why as we go through this. So we know that health is our responsibility. The problem is we always trusted others with our health. We trusted if we went to the doctor's going to make us healthy. Am I right? You go to the doctor, you're sick, you want to get healthy. How many people here either are or know people who have been on the same type of medication for 5 or more years? Okay, and are you any healthier now than you were day one when you started? Okay, so guess what? What you've been doing is having someone manage your disease. Not manage your health. We call it health care, but we have a sick care model because it manages your disease. All right. So today is a new day. We're going to start our journey towards health, optimal health, not just so that we don't fall apart and walking out the door, but optimal health today. All right. This is a reality check. Most people are almost dead when they die. Okay. You are almost dead when you die. Okay. So I love this because it starts out, all right, I have a little thyroid problem, maybe a little high blood pressure. I'm saying this is the example there. So what do? They go on and put them on medication like Synthroid. Okay. Because that's not working right. Now you have depression. Okay. Now those medications together, if you are a male, will make sure you need that Viagra. Okay, which has its own self of health challenges. Next thing you know, you're on a blood sugar, okay, medication, going into further depression again. Next thing you know, you're on, what is that? I'm not sure. Methotrexate because you have cancer. And next thing you know, look at the guy in the hospital. Every time I look at that in the hospital gown, he's dead. Okay. He's dead. Okay. And this is what we call normal. Okay. We get to the point that we call normal. Oh, high blood pressure. Everybody has it. All right. How many people know, we go to service whenever you choose to go to service, and what portion of the congregation is either on blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol medications? And it's normal. We get comfortable with our sickness. That's a problem. Okay. It is a problem to me. Okay. In your handouts, you have a sheet and it's titled Patients Taking Prescription Drugs Need to Be Nutrition Conscious. Okay. And what I did, you can take everything that I'm giving you, okay, today, you can take to your doctor. Okay. Because that's one thing. We work with health professionals. We work with doctors and all different types of health professionals. What I did was put on here, based upon the drug category, certain, drugs that you are taking. Like the first category is blood pressure, cardiovascular. And then some of you are very familiar. In fact, some of you are probably too familiar with some of these drugs. They call you by first name. Okay. All right. And the problem with that is that the nutrients depleted. You need to look and see when you're taking that drug. Now, understand something. By the time you got your first symptom, you had already lost about 75% of your health in that area. Okay. By the time you get your first medication, you've lost 95% of your health, and the medication is helping you retain that 5% until you die. You understand what I'm saying? That's why that picture, most people are almost dead by the time they die. Okay. 5% of your health. Okay. And the longer you take that medication, the more your health goes down. Okay. And a lot of it has to do because of different deficiencies that it creates. Now, what is a deficiency? It's any condition which an inadequate intake of a nutrient results in significant dysfunction or disease. Now, you probably got that disease in the first place because you were deficient of nutrients. So now you're taking a medication that further depletes nutrients. So instead of digging out with a shovel, you are now digging out with a backhoe. Okay, every time you take one of those pills. Now, that's one pill. What if you're on blood pressure medication and you need, a diabetic medication? So now you're getting a double whammy. You are now speeding up the speed at which nutrients are pulled out of your body, which means the faster you'll go down. Okay, so understand something. It may have taken you maybe 20 years before you got that diagnosis of diabetes. You don't get diabetes overnight. You didn't just wake up, go to the doctor, and they said you are diabetic. You've been diabetic for years, which is why one reason what we actually do is when we come, together for a consultation, I have you bring, a lot of times your exam, not so that I can make a diagnosis. The doctor already has done that. But the doctor looks at your blood test and everything and then makes a decision, and you get a medication and you run off. Why don't you learn how to read your own blood test? You understand what I'm saying? So I'll say, bring a couple of them. Let's track your blood sugar over the last 3 or 4 years. And wow, it's been going up. It was still in a normal range, so nobody did anything about it until it flipped over and became high. You understand what I'm saying? But if you knew 3 years ago that your blood sugar level was higher than it was the last year, and each year it was going higher, the definition of insanity is what? Doing the same thing the same way and expecting different results. So our philosophy is that if we see you stumbling, we're not going to wait until you fall. You understand? We're going to teach you how to awaken the physician within. Okay, so that you can begin to take charge of your own health. So with this particular chart, it talks to you about, say, for example, nutrients depleted CoQ10. Do you know CoQ10 is the spark plug that makes your heart keep pumping? It gives the energy to the heart. So here you are on a cardiovascular medication that actually has the ability to strip your heart of the nutrient it needs, okay, to keep going. So you wonder why the side effect or health risk is increased risk of heart disease. Wait a minute. I thought I was taking this to, kind of prevent heart disease, okay. We also have lower energy. A lot of people on these medications, you don't have any energy. And being a nurse, those first couple of weeks or so, when you begin taking a new medication, your energy level goes down to next to nothing. You have slower healing. You may go into depression, all right? Memory loss, muscle weakness, sexual dysfunction. Oh, wait, we have a drug for that, guys. All right? But you're not counting for the fact that it is the medication that you are on that is a side effect, that what you're talking about is a side effect of that. And what do? Write another medication that has what? Other side effects. Compounded on the side effects you're getting. Loss of sense of smell and taste, cervical dysplasia, PMS, heartbeat irregularity, fatigue, anxiety, nervousness, osteoporosis, tooth decay, birth defects, anemia. All of that is potentially what I could get by taking a medicine that's supposed to do what? Help manage. It helps you. It helps manage your disease. Okay. Now, I'm not against Western medicine. I'm not against pharmaceuticals. They have their place. And the reason we need them is because we don't eat the way we should. The food quality that we get is not even food anymore. Okay. I just read an article about some kosher things they're thinking about doing. Okay. And they are thinking about allowing beef that is grown in a test tube will be considered kosher because you don't have to worry about how it was killed. And they're getting certification for this, but I'm saying this ain't me. Just because you can multiply cells in a petri dish does not mean that's what I'm supposed to be eating. You understand what I'm saying? So here you are thinking you're eating a higher quality food, and let me give you a hot channel too. That ain't even food, okay, that you are eating. All right. So it's important for us to take responsibility for our own health. You get a chance, look at, okay, these health challenges that are on here, the medications. If you are on any of these medications, the minimum thing you need to be on is a good quality multivitamin, because how else are you going to be able to replace those nutrients? If it says, if you are on like anything regarding your blood sugar medication, you also need to be on B complex, especially B12, something that has a good B12, okay, as well as your multivitamin and CoQ10, because you're getting a double whammy of that. And if you're on cholesterol medication, forget it. That really cuts off your body's ability to produce CoQ10. So, we are here as we do not diagnose, we do not treat, we do not cure, we educate. Okay, we educate. And with that education, all right, is where, once again, you learn how to take back your own health. All right, let's do an overview. What is vitamin D? Because that's pretty much why we are here. Number one, it's called the fat-soluble vitamin, and that it gets stored in body fat as opposed to the water-soluble vitamins like B. Whenever you take a B vitamin, a lot of times you can go, and if you urinate, you see your urine is a yellow color and everything. That's what a water-soluble vitamin does. What your body doesn't use, it excretes. Okay. But D is a fat soluble. It's not just a vitamin. It's called a pre-hormone. Okay. So it's part of your hormonal system. Important for you to understand that because every cell in your body basically has a vitamin D receptor. It's found in some foods, but it can be made naturally through your skin when you are out in the sun. I know everybody just loves to go outside in that sun and just lay out in your thong bikini. Okay. Some of you maybe for 20 minutes. Me, in order to get the amount of vitamin D that Grace would, I would have to lay out in the sun probably about an hour, 80 minutes. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not happening. In fact, I put on my sneakers so I can quickly run from here to the car. All right. To get out of the heat. All right. You see, but that's the lifestyle that we have. We're in the Sunshine State, and trust me, everybody is in their air-conditioned building. They aren't out there in the sun, so that creates a problem. And especially if you have any melanin, which we'll go over. Major biological function is to maintain normal blood levels of calcium phosphorus, because those are two nutrients that are important for what bone health and gut health. All right. And then other tissues, macrophages, those are the ones that come and eat up part of your immune system that get the bad guys. Prostate tissue, a couple of guys here, you really want to consider vitamin D for that prostate. And also all of those have vitamin D receptors. One thing I learned when I was doing my research, even cancer cells have vitamin D receptors. Okay, that's something to understand. Even they do have vitamin D receptors. Okay, so let's look at, how this goes through the body. Yeah, I get a little, technical, but always remember, we're here to get educated. All right. So we have cholesterol from the diet that you get. All right. You have the sun ray there. Okay. It more or less hits the skin, goes to the skin, goes through a conversion process as it circulates through the bloodstream. It's picked up, goes into the liver. The liver converts pre-vitamin D to 25-hydroxyvitamin D, which appears in circulation. So if it goes to the liver, don't you think you want your liver in optimal health? Okay. But wait a minute. If you're on medications that actually affect the liver, do you think that can also affect your ability to do that particular step with vitamin D? Yes, it will. Okay. So your ability to properly convert vitamin D can be compromised if you don't have maximum liver health. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. Then once again, it goes through and the kidney. So liver and kidney are BFFs, okay, with regards to vitamin D conversion. And that kidney needs it is particularly because it converts it to the active form so that now we can metabolize and absorb calcium from the gut. If you do not have enough calcium being absorbed at the gut level through your diet, that doesn't stop kidney from doing what it needs to do to balance your blood. So kidney will say, okay, I'll take it from the hair. I'll take it from your nails. I'll take it from your jaw. I'll take it from your teeth. I'll take it from your bones. So then you start having brittle hair. You have brittle nails. We go to the hair store and get more hair and the nails to get more nails. Not understanding that our body was saying, hey guys, we have a problem. Houston, there's a problem. You're about to crash and burn. Okay. When you do not pay attention to those signs, okay, now I'll take it from the bone. Now you have osteoporosis. Now you're getting these kidney stones because the body was not meant to reabsorb calcium that is taken from those sources. You understand what I'm saying? But the body will welcome, come on in. The body will always, compensate and do what it has to do. All right. So that is just a little diagram on how, and so if, once again, liver has to be at optimal health, kidney has to be at optimal health. How many of you know people that are on dialysis or have kidney problems? Okay. When, once again, with diabetes, one of the signs they start seeing urine spilling out through what? The kidney. They start looking at kidney health. which means if you have compromises with kidney health, do you think you're going to start having problems with the metabolism of vitamin D? Yes, you are. Now, the one reason you're having this health challenge is because you're already deficient. So what you are doing is not going to work for you. You understand what I'm saying? So that means things start spiraling in the wrong direction. Okay, deconversion. Okay, again, going over that. Conversion of vitamin D to its active form occurs in the kidneys, but it can also occur in the skin, the prostate, brain, pancreas, adipose tissue, which is fat. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. So that means the more fat you have, the more you're going to store vitamin D. Sounds good, right? The problem is you store it, you don't use it. Okay? A skeletal tissue, skeletal muscle, the heart, colon, monocyte, macrophages, and neoplastic. Neoplastic tissues, medical term for a tumor. Tumors. Okay? Thank you for your artwork there that you gave. And this is just showing you, as a matter of fact, in your handout, you actually have another diagram. Okay, that's titled Vitamin D in Human Disease States, if you have the handouts. If you are on Facebook and you don't have the handouts, simply email me at charlotteisrael@gmail.com. CharlotteIsrael@gmail.com, and I will get you the handouts after this is over so that you can have them. Okay, so we have two charts here. You have vitamin D deficiency causes, consequences. Vitamin D comes from the sun. However, what about if you don't get a lot of sun in the winter? As a matter of fact, if you go above Georgia, it starts getting dark, maybe about 4:30. So you're not getting a lot of sun. And part of it is the UVB rays that are needed to produce vitamin D don't even come that far. So you don't even get the opportunity. In the winter, you must supplement. Okay? Medications, anti-seizure drugs, glucocorticoids. Okay? Okay, antiviral drugs. Why? Because they affect the liver. Remember, liver is very important. St. John's wort. Oh, that's an herb. Herbal medicines are okay. No, you better check out and see whether or not that herb can be working against your medication. That is why I don't care whether I recommend or anybody recommends. The first one you go to with an herbal or any type of vitamin or anything is your pharmacist, because you will ask that pharmacist to compare that medication to, or rather your nutrient to your medication, to see if there are any contraindications, okay? Because there are some things that you can take will actually increase the working ability of your medication so that you wind up almost overdosing, okay, on something because of that. And then there are some things you can take that can decrease the effectiveness. So what do? You go and get more medication. You forget about the nutrient that you were on, stop taking that. Now your medication isn't working again because really you're taking too much now. You understand what I'm saying? So you always go to that pharmacist first. All right, signs of vitamin D deficiency also: muscle weakness, muscle aches, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. Okay, this is why the one thing that I tell everyone to do, you go to the doctor, make sure you get a vitamin D test. It is very basic so that we have a starting point. Different autoimmune diseases, your type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, anyone with MS. People with MS typically have low vitamin D levels, okay? Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is inflammation of the bowel. Guess what? These nutrients are absorbed in the bowel. So if you have a compromised bowel, you're going to have to take more than someone who doesn't. Okay, different cancers. All right, your breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate, pancreas, etc. My mother died of pancreatic cancer due to complications due to diabetes, okay, that she developed. Okay, like I said, years ago, it wasn't diagnosed until she was 65. By the time she turned 70, she had cancer and she died. She died a couple of months after her 70th birthday. All right. And so all of these are consequences, and this diagram shows you even more. Did you know all of these things can be related to this one deficient nutrient? So you have friends, like I said, you have friends put their names in there. You're going to tell them, make sure your doctor, once again, gives you that blood test for vitamin D. Okay, looking at another chart, all different cells, it gives the system. All right. And say, for example, we're looking at, say, all cells. The response of vitamin D is that it determines the cell cycle regulation, cell proliferation inhibition. In other words, if I am a good cell, do I want that cell to multiply and grow? Yes. If I am a cancer cell, do you want that cancer cell to multiply and grow? No. So in other words, good cells, vitamin D helps to multiply. Bad cells, it helps to stop them from multiplying. Okay? So, just little things. Pancreas, vitamin D, okay, facilitates insulin secretion. So in other words, you can pump that pancreas up. Thank you for that sneeze. Oh, by the way, whenever someone sneezes and you're talking, it means you're telling the truth. Okay. Always remember that. Okay. So, impaired glucose tolerance and diabetes metabolic challenges in vitamin D deficiency. So you mean if I'm vitamin D deficient, my insulin will not be as effective. However, when I begin to improve my vitamin D levels, my insulin becomes more effective. If my insulin is becoming more effective, then I can use less diabetes medication. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so what did we say? Changes in lifestyle, diet, and vitamin D levels can make a difference. All right? In the brain, very important, because they are finding, how many of you know people with dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that? And as we get older, we kind of get scared about that. They're looking at Alzheimer's as a form of diabetes type 3, diabetes of the brain, because the brain becomes insulin resistant. So if you already have insulin resistance in your body, is it a possibility that you eventually may develop insulin resistance in the brain? And sometimes with a diet or Alzheimer's, patients, some of them are diabetic. You understand? As a nurse, you take care of these people. All right. And so in looking at that, we need to resolve all of these things. But the one thing they have in common, wait a minute, how come nobody tested this before? You understand? It's not like some of these studies that I've been looking at, and some people today, this is 2018. This is the first I'm hearing about it. Really? This study was from 2006. You see, so this is the best kept secret that everybody knows, just nobody is talking about. All right, vitamin D and chronic diseases, 1,25-dihydroxy vitamin D plays an important role in regulating calcium and phosphate metabolism for bone health. So you think of vitamin D, all you think is bone health, right? But there's so much more. Any autoimmune diseases, atopic dermatitis, eczema. How many of you know little babies, especially African-American babies that have eczema? That's a sign. Is anybody testing their vitamin D level or the vitamin D level of that mother? Okay. So that can be the way that the skin, once again, eczema, remember your skin is a detoxification. Okay. I will start asking questions. Was that baby delivered by C-section? If yes, the baby doesn't have a fully developed detoxification or immune system, which is why it can contribute to the problems we're having with the skin. What about the vitamin D level? That's going to contribute also. Go to the pediatrician and ask them to test it, because you are a person of color, and it's very well known that these are challenges if you have any sort of melanin in the skin. Why are people suffering? You understand? We can improve the quality of life. Cardiovascular diseases, chronic respiratory diseases, asthma. Okay. We have Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease. You have any type of that type of disease, you definitely need your B12, okay, your B vitamins, your D in activated forms. If you know anybody that has even bariatric surgery, and I'm hoping that my person will be on, okay, to give a testimony of what happened with her, okay, and how she developed these, okay, from a challenge. Kidney disease. Like I say, you know, people that are in dialysis are starting to have kidney problems. Periodontal disease. Do you know that your teeth can diagnose a vitamin D deficiency? Okay, they can, all right. And the dentist can tell through certain conditions in the teeth. Vitamin D deficient here, okay, here. Vitamin D deficient here. You understand what I'm saying? So your teeth, your dentist, I cannot encourage you more to go to the dentist, because dental health is heart health. Dental health is heart health. Problems with the teeth can go straight to the heart, okay? And very often your teeth will be the first signs of something going wrong, like diabetes or something of that sort. Skin diseases, some cancers, infectious diseases, even schizophrenia. Okay, vitamin D deficiency is tied in all of that. Linked with colon, rectum, breast, ovarian, prostate, stomach, bladder, esophagus, kidney, lung, pancreas, uterine cancers, as well as for non-Hodgkin lymphoma and multiple myeloma. Vitamin, you know any of those people, put their name down. Okay, higher levels of vitamin D lead to lower instances of cancer. Okay, people that live in sunnier latitudes usually have lower levels of cancer. Okay, now Black individuals, lower level of active vitamin D. Okay, we also have higher mortality rates of colon, breast, prostate, and ovarian cancers. Now, it is well known that both Caucasians and Blacks, okay, can be diagnosed almost at the same rate of certain cancers, but African Americans have higher mortality rates. Okay, and the reason for, well, what's the reason for that? They aren't being properly taken care of. No, you come into that cancer with a vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D deficiency will allow, remember we talked about cell proliferation, okay, multiplying of cells. So in a lack of vitamin D, those cancer cells multiply faster, as opposed if you're vitamin D sufficient or optimal levels, it slows it down. So you have Blacks that have higher levels of vitamin D, which means those cells multiply, become aggressive faster than in Caucasians. Vitamin D prevents tumor angiogenesis. In other words, the creation of that tumor. It allows for effective communication between cells. It's important. A cancer cell is a cell in rebellion. It is a cell that became damaged, and the natural progression for a damaged cell is to die. That's why it's important to and that's another sermon. Won't even get into that. Okay, don't get me started, okay? Okay, but the natural progression for that cell when it becomes too damaged to live is to die. The last thing you want that cell to do is figure out a way to live in a modified state, because then it begins to replicate that. Then it begins to talk to its buddies and get them to join in. Next thing you know, you have a tumor. Next thing you know, you're dead. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, with that. So, you know, vitamin D prevents that and inhibits the cells from doing that. It also enhances cell death. In other words, an optimal vitamin D level will be able to tell a cell it's time for you to die. Okay, nutrients like resveratrol and curcumin go in and tell a cell it's time for you to die now. Okay, they go in and actually program cell death. Okay, Moffitt did a study on resveratrol and prostate cancer, and the conclusion of their study was that resveratrol is a great chemopreventive. In other words, it worked as similar as chemotherapy in that it tells cells to die. So you can look that up, look up that study. I encourage you, just put in Moffitt resveratrol, okay, and the study will come up. Vitamin D in cancer, okay, you can get environmental. Okay, you see people that toxic water or around all of these wires and everything, telephone wires, higher levels of cancer. You need to be aware of that. Where you see all of these wires and all of this stuff, also be aware of the fact that, remember at one time how much farmland Florida was, how many orange groves there were, how much pesticide is in the soil that doesn't come out, and they come and build your house right on that soil, and you are wondering why you are sick. Environmental toxins can cause certain things, okay? It's spraying all over it, right? You know, and then genetic, okay, polymorphisms in the vitamin D receptor. Now, how I started with vitamin D is this next slide. I took my own genetic test. Okay, you remember we took our genetic test and everything because I wanted to see. A genetic test will tell you how God made you. Okay, and tell you how you're going to respond. Okay, so vitamin D receptor, what does the gene do? It produces receptor that binds vitamin D, helps to regulate many functions in the body, including bone formation, glucose balance. Remember, I said my mother, okay, developed diabetes, okay? Immune response, muscle formation, and others. So then it goes, whether or not there is a variation detected. Do you have the variation? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, and all of my vitamin D receptors are fried, okay, in other words. So I cannot metabolize and convert vitamin D the way I should because of a genetic risk and also because I have a slightly higher than normal body fat level. Oh, just slightly higher, okay? All right, so anyway, my results, you see the results say the variation, homogeneous results, in other words, from both mother and father. So I get a double whammy, vitamin D deficiency with my genes. Okay, now when you look and see what does it mean for me, it means possibly for bone integrity, I have 2 copies of that gene. Yay, parents, okay, which have been associated with lower, okay, bone mineral density, okay, glucose balance, that particular variation, higher blood glucose levels. So I have a genetic risk that would automatically, instead of having normal, I would tend to have higher, okay? Plus the fact that I do have challenges with detoxification, which is liver. So that means I'm going to have problems converting certain things, all right? So therefore, when I go to the doctor and they see such and such, oh, here, take this medication. And my gene snip has told me the reason why I have certain things. So guess what? I know how I'm going to have to manage them, because if my liver cannot filter out certain things and you are giving me something that compromises liver health, you're just going to simply speed up, okay, something that doesn't need to be. So I need to look at this another way. So after finding all of this out is when we began to really study and get into natural health. Okay, so that if I know that I have a tendency towards higher blood glucose, I'm going to make sure I manage things with diet. I'm going to make sure I get the proper nutrients. I take certain things that are going to keep that blood level lower because I have a genetic risk that will give me, okay, make sure, okay, that I have higher levels of blood glucose. And because of that, once again, I would be more prone to certain things associated with that because my vitamin D receptors do not work properly. So does that mean I can take the same amount of vitamin D as you? No, I've got to take more vitamin D than normal. Otherwise, I will still be in a deficient condition. All right, high prevalence of vitamin D deficiency combined, okay, with the discovery of increased risk of certain types of cancer in those who are deficient, suggests that vitamin D deficiency may account for several thousand premature deaths from colon, breast, ovarian, and other cancers annually. Hello, did you read the article? This death was highly preventable. Come on. African American women who develop breast cancer are more likely to die from the disease than white women of the same age. Garland, is one of the leading vitamin D authority scientists in the world. Survival rates are worse among African Americans for colon, prostate, ovarian cancers. Okay? Let's look at this chart. Cancer death rates by race and ethnicity. And this was during a 4-year period. You see the male and female. Let's look at the different races. Non-Hispanic white. Next to it is non-Hispanic black. Asian Pacific Islander, American Indian, Native Alaskan, and Hispanic. Hey guys, we get the number one spot. Sometimes it's not good to be number one. Okay, it is not good to be number one. But you see how much higher that rate is, and it's very explainable because of the vitamin D deficiency. That is known that we have. If you don't leave here with anything else, you leave here with understanding. If you are not taking a vitamin D supplement, you will take a vitamin D supplement. Okay? Because these are facts. This is not anybody's imagination. These are facts. All right, let's look at survival rates. If we're looking at all sites, all different, types of cancer, you have the Caucasian white, you have the black survival rates, and the difference between the two. All right, so 70%, of whites for all sites have a 70% survival rate. Have a 70% survival rate. So you see a difference that is there. I'm sorry, I have somebody who is, all right, you're not able to get into the conference. All right, but let's look at oral cavity and pharynx. That's 20% difference. Uterine cancers, 20% difference. I don't know if anybody is not okay with this, like I'm not okay with this. It's bad enough that you develop this cancer. 5-year survival rates for some aren't that much better. So vitamin D's most profound gene influence activity appears to be in keeping healthy the broad category of epithelial cells. Those are the lining, of the cell. Very important, that epithelial lining. Now, if you are in a health professional, Nutrimetrics, OPC3 has the clinical study on how it affects the epithelial lining. So those two together are best buddies, are best buddies for, getting rid of those particular and addressing those conditions. The calcitriol, which is your vitamin D, switches on and off at least 200 genes. Come on. Prevents new cells, or rather reduces the unregulated growth of cancer cells by promoting normal cell death. So it tells that cell to die. Very similar to your curcumin, to your resveratrol. They promote apoptosis, which tells a cell to die. Prevents new cells from becoming cancerous. Helps to regulate, certain, enzymes, so things that hold cells together. All right. Prevents cancer cells from spreading, metastasis. Inhibits cancer cells from developing a new blood supply. A cancer cell is like, did you see the movie Alien? You remember how that thing just developed and it developed its own blood system, its own supply. It fed off of that person until such time as it killed it. Hello? Isn't that what cancer does? It starts out small and it begins to grow. It develops its own blood supply so that it doesn't depend upon you anymore. I don't have to depend upon you feeding me. I can feed myself. It has twice as many insulin receptors. So everything you eat, I'm going to suck. Ever wonder why you see a person with cancer? You know they have cancer because what? They look like it. They get so thin. The cancer is spreading, but they are getting smaller. The cancer is feeding itself, but you are getting smaller. You can't take in enough nutrients because the cancer is. You understand? It's just like having an alien, okay, in your body. So you've got to do things to shut off that growth, okay? And so vitamin D is like the perfect anti. We're talking about prevention here. Let me tell you something. It's easier, thank you, okay? It's easier to row away from the falls and get away from it when you're a mile away from it than when you are 3 feet from going over it. You understand what I'm saying? It takes less effort if you're further away and you begin pedaling away than when you are right there. Let me tell you, once you reach the white water, you better make sure you're strong enough to back up because that water is going to carry you to where that waterfall is. Okay. So lung cancer. Okay. Know anybody with lung cancer? Vitamin D inhibits the proliferation and induces differentiation of lung cancer cell lines. It inhibits the metastasis. That's it spreading. Okay, so that's a good thing that vitamin D can do for lung cancer based upon studies. Everything here has a study. Oh my goodness. 1998? Hello? How long ago was that? Breast cancer inhibits cell proliferation, induces differentiation, apoptosis, inhibits angiogenesis in normal and breast cancer cells, okay? All right, hey, come on in, okay? And so once again, we see a good thing with vitamin D is it stops a lot of things that you are going to chemotherapy for. I'm not saying now, always remember, all right, whenever you have a certain condition, it is that doctor's medical responsibility to recommend the treatment, the standard treatment for that condition. Otherwise, you can, if they don't give you the standard treatment, you can sue them if something goes wrong. You understand? All right. So you don't fault the doctors. Don't fight against the doctors. Educate yourself. You understand? So that you can do things to integrate and help that health professional along, okay, till the point where you can become healthy and perhaps not have as many of those medications. You understand what I'm saying? Diabetes, type 1 diabetes results from beta cell destruction. Guess what? Vitamin D is an immunosuppressant agent. Your immune system turns against you. It begins to be your own worst enemy, okay? So listen to this. Supplementation by vitamin D reduced the risk for diabetes by about 80% in children. Okay? Vitamin D might protect the pancreas. Hello, where's insulin produced? In the pancreas. Okay? Supplementation of the mother's diet reduce incidence of type 1 diabetes in children. If the mother doesn't have it, the baby is not going to have it. You understand? So here the baby is born already fighting for its life. Okay? Children who are deficient in vitamin D have a 200% increased risk of developing type 1 diabetes. Listen, life is hard enough, okay, for kids today. You know, you don't start them out with a minus, okay, with this. And a nurses study, 83,779 women. That's quite a bit, okay? Okay, and they gave an intake of, say, 1,200 milligrams of calcium, 800 IU of vitamin D was associated with a 33% lower risk of type 2 diabetes. Now, always understand something. If you are taking a calcium supplement, you need vitamin D in that calcium supplement along with a couple of other trace minerals. However, you never take a calcium supplement more than about 400 milligrams at a time because guess what? Your body can only absorb that much. So if you are taking 1,200, You're saying I need 1,200 for the day, right? I take my pill, I'm finished, right? No, you're only going to absorb 400. Where are you going to get the other 800 from? So calcium has to be taken and broken up in doses. But if you are vitamin D deficient, you will not be able to adequately absorb, okay, calcium in the gut. So you need vitamin D in your calcium supplement enough so that you will be able to absorb it. You understand what I'm saying? And then with the high, I love the doctors that give out 50,000 IU, okay, of vitamin D. Any amount over 2,000 needs to be matched with K2 because K2 is what regulates the calcium. Now, here you are getting all this vitamin D and you dysregulate calcium. And next thing you know, you're sitting in the hospital with those kidney stones and everything else. You see, that's why it's important, once again, to have things that are formulated together. Who's thinking about that? All you know is you wrote a prescription, you're taking the prescription. And FYI, okay, FYI, and I can show this to you in your handout, if you have a handout there, the back page. Okay, if you can zoom in on this. Okay, what this page actually represents, okay, very back, very last page, okay. What this page actually represents is a graph showing you the levels of vitamin D. The red is the 50,000 IU. The one in the middle is when you take vitamin D every day. So you see with the 50,000 IU, you go up and down, up and down. This is like, you know, something you ride on at Busch Gardens. Okay. And hopefully you like the ride. Okay. Okay. But once again, look at the highs and lows, and you can see it. Whereas vitamin D, this is the equivalent, guys, of changing your underwear once a week. Okay. It's okay the first day, all right? But after that, it goes downhill real fast. You will remember that, okay? When that doctor writes that prescription of 50,000, you know, are you trying to insult me? I change my underwear every day. Okay, so vitamin D, in order for you to maximize your health, I mean, I feel good here. I feel bad here. I feel good here. I feel bad. That was somebody's texting me. I feel good here. I feel bad there. No, don't you want feel good all the time? All the time. Okay? Okay, so you learned today that you must change your underwear every day. Okay? And vitamin D once a week is like changing your underwear once a week. Okay? So that you will remember, I'm quite sure. Okay? Vitamin D and diabetes. How many of you know people that have diabetes? Okay. All right. Vitamin D deficiency, anything less than 20 nanograms per milliliter has been associated with decreased beta cell function. Those are the cells in your pancreas. So if you are extreme vitamin D deficiency, pancreas is not going to work right. So insulin is not going to work right. Let me say something. You get acid indigestion. Why? Pancreas is the organ responsible to put the sodium bicarbonate to neutralize the stomach acid. You got acid reflux. Pancreas ain't working right. Understand what I'm saying? Pancreas is not working right. Oh, I better start looking at my blood sugar. Okay, also, you understand what I'm saying?